Hey guys, James from James Workshop here, and today we are talking about centerpiece models in 40k and how it's not been done very well. And obviously, there are a lot of centerpiece models that we would classify as centerpiece models in 40k, but I would say there's not enough, and there's not enough good examples. If we have a look at AOS, and we will do it right now, we can go through every single race, army, and there is a big centerpiece model. And for me, a centerpiece model is a model that is significantly large. It's a model that is full of detail, either it's up for the painter or the model itself is filled with lots of detail. But basically, it's a big artistic piece that you chuck on the table. It is literally the centerpiece of the board. When you look at your army, the centerpiece model signifies what this whole army means, but also allows for artistic expression. And we'll just go through a couple of AOS models, like Alarith. Fantastic, awesome choice. You know, big, domineering model. But he's not even the best centerpiece model from that army. We've got Archmage Celsius. Elite model. One of, if not the best model GW has ever done. Fantastic. We don't have things like this. We've also got Kragnos, the end of the empires, and generally in 40k, the models we get that are centerpiece models are the bigger models. I don't typically like to count mechs in that. They can count, but quite often the mechs in 40k are very rudimentary. It's very cookie cutter, and it doesn't have that special feeling. I love the Storm Surge. It's one of my favorite models in 40k, and I do think it fills that role as a centerpiece model where it doesn't have that special feeling. It's just missing one or two bits. And I think AOS has actually solved the problem, because you can't have all these big, massive monster beast things, or mechs, I guess, in 40k, being the centerpiece models. There's actually relatively few big centerpiece models that are of this giant size. Have a look at what GW has done to solve this issue in AOS. They have put the main character, who is relatively normal sized for a model, maybe sometimes a little bit taller, on the base, on top of or next to a bigger monster beast thing, whilst they still remain the centerpiece of the model. Probably another top two AOS model. I can never, the Everqueen, I can never say her name, not going to try. Look at this. She is the centerpiece of this model. She is standing atop of this big scarab beetle. I don't even know what this thing is. Not scarab beetle. This big beetle thing. Great job. Looks fantastic. Her model, she is a bit bigger, but, you know, it elevates her, makes her so much bigger. Look at Urak the first Demon Smith. He just came out last week. I guess technically you can pick him up yesterday. Just put a character on a saddle on a fucking big monster. Ionis Cryptborn, Warden of the Lost Souls. I really want to get this model just for a conversion. What a fantastic model. And he literally is just a chaplain, a Space Marine chaplain. Which makes sense because he is literally a Space Marine. Talia Vedra. Basically, Cities of Sigmar, the Imperial Guard. Look what they've done here. They've just put her on this big monster. GW, you could do this, except you're putting all of your commanders in Imperial Guard on these stupid horses. You just released a second one. You can do something better. Now, looking at a couple of the centerpiece models that we have in 40k, there are some. The main ones that come to light, I'm just going to show two of the four. We've got the Demon Primarchs, Mortarion, Angron. You've also got all the others, including a host of demons as well. So not even the Demon Primarchs, you've got the demons. There's probably 6 to 8 centerpiece models you can run in a variety of the Chaos armies that have a big centerpiece model. But once again, that is just the big once-off model as a big monster, which is cool. I am currently, I started this 4 or 6 months ago, building my Mortarion I love this model. Fantastic. But it doesn't... They're not using the solution that we saw earlier in AOS, where they've been able to pump out Centerpiece models for every army whilst putting a normal sized character on a bigger monster. And GW have also been able to work around this in other ways. Yes, technically, Katakros, I can't say his name, is a much bigger model. Yes, he takes up this big stand and he's got 4 supporting little minions around him. All look awesome. But GW have actually done this exact model in at least one way, maybe 2. Sazerac, he is a much bigger than normal Necron on his awesome throne. And he's got a shard just up there at the top, big throne. He's got these 2 big pillars. I don't know what any of these things are called. I don't know. Fantastic model. Fantastic Centerpiece model. And to a degree, lesser or more so, we've got the Triumph of St. Catherine. I think this might be top 2 Centerpiece models right now in 40k, and I would say this is top 2 tied with all the Chaos Primarchs, because you can't rate those separately. Otherwise you're going to offend everyone. But regardless, Triumph of St. Catherine is such a fantastic model, and it's just lots of normal people on there taking the sarcophagus, the coffin of St. Catherine with a bunch of cherubs flying around. It does a great job without having to even have a monster on there. So there's other ways we can do these things. And in Space Marines, we've recently got Lionel Johnson and Rabute Gilliman, and we will definitely be getting a 3rd Primarch in the next edition, most likely. I think there are 3 options. You've got the Raven Guard Primarch, you've got, obviously, Leman Russ of the Space Wolves, who's probably percentage-wise the most likely. They're setting him up to come back. And then we also have Khan from the White Scars. I think those are the 3 more likely Primarchs to come back out of any of them. Now, my problem with Rabute Gilliman and Lion L. Johnson is, yes, they are Centerpiece models. They just don't have that size that we've been seeing over in Age of Sigmar. And on the tabletop, I find that, especially the Lion, they disappear. You can find them, and they are, yes, Centerpiece models, but I think Rabute somewhat stands out a bit more because he's got the Emperor's Sword that's always painted in this bright yellow-orange colour scheme, so that makes him stand a bit more. But even then, we could be doing more. And I think there's a couple of ways GW can go about it in the return of one of these new Primarchs. So, I think... Oh, Chorus Korvax is the Raven Guard Primarch. So technically he's been lost in the warp. He's hunting, I think he's hunting Lorgar. All my lore readers, please let me know. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. So technically you could bring Korax back as a Demon Primarch himself, but he's a loyalist Demon Primarch. You could do that. You could bring Leman Russ back on a wolf, riding a wolf, you know, you could do that. That's just going to elevate it, make him a bit of a bigger unit. Or, and this is what I'm most keen about because I've actually got some fan art of it, you can bring the Khan back from the Webway on a Webway creature. And I really like this artwork because it's fan-made. I really like the idea of bringing a really awesome, more AOS fantasy-styled creature from the Webway into 40k. And it makes sense. And that's why I love this artwork, because it kind of encapsulates exactly what I've been thinking, what can happen. And you could do this with Leman Russ on a wolf as well. Absolutely. A big legendary wolf. That works. Otherwise, I guess I've found this other fan art of Khan. You could also demonize some of the Primarchs if you could set up the story enough. So obviously they've made Khan in this photo a centaur. That's it. Not so much a fan of that. But yeah, I think there's definitely a solution here that we could use for majority of armies, because we do need more Centerpiece models. I feel like with the Tower, we've got a nice arrangement of Centerpiece models where you got the character models, but they're just not big enough. And then you've got the bigger mechs, but the bigger mechs don't really feel that need. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think in regards to Centerpiece models. Do we need a complete pivot, changing towards what we have over in AOS? I think we do. And I think it's a really easy solution for most armies. Or do we need more Titan, Knight-sized, once-off mechs and whatnot? And is that good enough? I think the Wraith Knight for the Eldar fulfills the need perfectly because it's such a perfect model. And yes, technically you could run an Imperial Knight as well for any of your armies if you are in the Imperium, but no one's going to do that. But also, I feel like with this artwork for the Khan, you could actually use this as a way to bring in some more fantasy-inspired creatures for some other armies, at least for the Drukhari, and then for the Eldar themselves. So that's technically 3 armies you could bring some fantasy creatures in through. There's so much they could do. They could do a big squig model for orcs. And I know we have the kill rig, but that does not look very good. And it's not a named character. Let me know what you guys think, and if I'm onto something or if I'm just cooked. Might be, but I don't know. This piece of artwork has just inspired me so much, and it just makes me want to plan for the future with my potential White Scars successor army I am currently planning out. But there's so much going on here that there's something here that GW need to take inspiration from, just one more step further, because they're doing the rest. They just need to do this mount idea in some capacity. All right, I'll see you guys next time.